and it is just about 4:03. I'm calling the meeting to order. 4:03 p.m. The first order of business is the minutes from our last December 15th meeting. Are there any questions, concerns, comments, or changes relative to those minutes that was the draft minutes that was circulated? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Nancy, second?
Second.
That was you, Patrick?
No, Mark.
Oh, Mark. Okay, sorry, Mark. And no discussion required, so therefore we will take a quick roll call vote. I'm in favor. Nancy?
Aye.
Patrick?
Aye.
Also, Mark?
Aye.
Okay, so that would be 4 members of the committee in favor. And Tom has not joined us yet. Okay, the next item, forgive me, for being a little delayed. I'm taking notes also. The next item, I circulated to everybody a copy of the tax lien on properties in Stockbridge. And all of these documents on this tax lien statement are in the process of adjudication. So therefore, we can't take any action on them for 2 reasons. One, they have actually 3 reasons. One, they have not been adjudicated as yet. 2, the declaration of the committee has not been drafted and approved by the select board that action on these properties is part of the role of the Housing Trust Committee. And the third issue is we don't want to, as a committee, be in the position to talk about properties that are in the process of adjudication because we don't know what the final outcome is. So you have the most current listing that was prepared by Erica Olson, our treasurer, and we will keep that on file and in abeyance until the right time comes and we learn more. Are there any comments on the tax lien statement?
Nope.
Nope.
No?
Just thank you, Jay, for the initiative of pulling it. But yeah, I think we need to table it.
Yes, there's no question. We have to be very careful. Yes, it is a public document, but we don't want to be construed as making comments about things that we're overstepping our bounds and we don't have the proper background. The next item I will talk about, and I missed one point. The meeting has to wrap up at 5:30 because both Michael, Patrick, and Steve of CTSB TV have to prepare for the select board meeting. So that's just a point of order. I will leave the matter of Pinewoods housing facility until after we talk about the draft declaration or purpose, if you will, of the Housing Trust Committee. So let's go through this document. Michael, did you want to put anything on the board or you want me to go through it section by section?
Putting it up.
Okay, we're gonna talk about some of the key sections. My first comment is I'm not particularly enamored with the name of the declaration. Are we limited to that name, Michael?
I will find that out. Let me highlight it.
Do you have any better names?
I would like a name declaration of the trust, Stockbridge Housing Trust Fund, and get affordable out.
Okay.
That would be my, my comment. And then let me make a remove affordable.
Does affordable, can I ask a question?
Of course, Mark.
That's Mark. Does affordable have some legal definition under federal housing law or something? I just wondered if the word, it gets referred to generically, people talk about affordable housing, but is there also some legal definition that would make this word inappropriate?
Michael, any thoughts on that?
Well, I do believe that the part that of section of law we're going under is for an affordable housing trust. So I am not sure if we can remove that, but I will find out.
So I know there's various formulas that determine affordability in terms of housing grants and things. It just seems like a word that could have a lot of meaning that isn't immediately clear.
Okay,
So
basically-
section 55 of the law that we're going under is for establishing a municipal affordable housing trust fund. I'm most likely that will probably stay because there are legal definitions of what an affordable, and that's what we're allowed to operate within an affordable housing, which is set by various categories as far as HUD, standard in the Berkshire County and the rest. So yeah, I'm doubtful that we can remove that.
All right, but we should check it.
I'll check. I
Just-
made the comment note on the sheet. Yep.
My point, both to the committee, to Mark and to Michael, directing my comments is we get sometimes a negative reaction to the word affordable, okay, from the public. That I'm trying to avoid any pushback, and that's where I'm coming from here.
Yep.
Any other comments on the name first? The purpose of the trust, any comments on that?
I did have a question. It's with the real estate and personal property. I don't understand how that would work because personal property is the contents of someone's home. So we could seize the contents of someone's home, not us, but trust could seize the personal property or their car, or what does that mean?
Yeah, we can acquire.
Theoretically, you could, from a tax lien standpoint, were there to be a tax lien against the property. Is that not correct, Michael?
Yeah, and I think they just leave it in there. It's in the Lennox one, it's in the Littleton one, real estate, personal property, both tangible and intangible. I think it just leaves it open for any type of housing that we, anything that we may be acquiring or offering. So
It just seems extreme that that they could take possession of someone's paintings in their house or something to pay for an affordable housing. I don't know.
yeah,
This
That's just my opinion.
wait,
I
but
did
when you
see-
say
I did-
take, isn't this gifts?
typically it would be gifts, purchase, or it says to acquire by gift, purchase, or otherwise. Sort of leaving it open. If we were to close on a house in tax title that's been abandoned, has furnishing within it and the rest.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I'm doubtful that it is, but I think it's in there for something like that could potentially happen.
Oh, okay.
I would agree with that, Nancy.
Okay.
I think that's part of the game here.
Okay.
Any other comments on the purpose of the trust? Okay, I'm gonna check that off. The next one we want to look at is the composition of the board, okay? Now, basically, we are right now an ad hoc committee. We're basically a committee, a special purpose committee. They're the ultimate members of this trust fund would have to be appointed by the select board. And it's conceivable that members of this committee may not want to serve on the final structure, committee structure of the fund. So basically, we're saying that these are some of the criteria of trustees. Ultimately, they have to be approved by the select board, and they will have definitive terms, and the terms will be staggered. So any comments on that?
I was more comfortable maybe with 3 years, Jay, not 2, just knowing how hard it is to find people to serve on committees.
So you composition of the board, 3-year terms?
Yeah, I was thinking 3-year terms. That way we only have to find a maximum of 2 or 3 a year rather than 4. Isn't it 7-person board?
That's fine. We'll check that out.
Yeah, and yes, 7-person board is being recommended. This committee can establish, obviously you're sending the declaration to the select board who will make the final approval and send on. Are there specific committees that we want represented? Do we think should be represented? I think that's something this committee can consider right here. If there's any criteria we want to establish for our trust. So this one, I think, is one that you have a lot of discretion as far as what you would like to place here.
And my other question for you, Jay and Michael, is it a requirement legally that they be a resident of Stockbridge? Because there are a number of folks, like, for example, at managers of Pinewoods or managers of Heaton Court, who may not be residents, but we might want to tap to be on something like this. I'm wondering if there is a residency requirement or if we could have some flexibility on that.
I think in this document, Patrick, we have to be careful. There's a statement, the conflict of interest statement. So basically, we're one to be receiving benefits under the trust, i.e. Heaton Court or Pinewoods. That could be a potential conflict of interest. And
That's a good point.
Wait, say it again, Michael? What?
It could possibly prevent them from being able to apply if you have.
Well, okay, then maybe those are bad examples. I'm just wondering, if there are, candidates that, if we didn't have somebody who wanted to serve in Stockbridge, whether the select board should have the flexibility to appoint somebody from a surrounding town who has been an advocate for housing, for example. I don't know. I'm just bringing it up.
Yep.
hang on one second.
Noted. I'm making notes as we go along, and I will make sure to have these answers so we can finalize this possibly at the next one. So I will.
Basically, can a board member be receiving benefits, i.e. Pinewood or Heaton Court, if you will? We have to check that out, okay?
Also, just in general.
Or could we have a banker on there on the?
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. For example, we have a banker on the finance committee, and that is Pam Boudreau. And theoretically, she could serve on this committee here.
Yes.
So yes, the answer would be yes, and maybe even an attorney or two. Don't know. We're a little premature for that at this point. Okay.
And then I just have a technical question around the number. The trust says that you have to have at least 5 trustees for it to be operational.
Right.
Does the quorum change at 5 than it is at the normal 7? Because it takes 5 out of 7 votes to take an action at a 7-member board. If it's 5 or 6 members, does it still require 5?
So depending on what's in front of you, there was a voting requirement in this that if you were I'm trying to find the section that you had, there will be some things that will require a 2/3 vote of the entire board, which means it would always be 5.
But there was also, it didn't say 2/3, it said 5, is my
It
point.
says, right, it says 5 specifically, which means if the board was down to 5, it would have to be a unanimous vote. For
No,
those-
yeah, so I'm wondering if we could do 4. 4 out of 5 is 80%, so it should be enough.
No, 4 is a majority of 7.
No, I meant if in the event that the board is operational at 5, according to the section we're just in the event we only had 5, does it take a unanimous vote or does it take a 2/3 vote, which would be 4 out of 5?
So other than this section, section 5, normally all your votes are majority vote of the quorum that is present, except if you are authorizing a purchase, sale, lease, exchange, transfer, or conveyance of real property, then it must be 5 of the 7 members, regardless of how many are at the meeting or on the committee at that time.
Right. Yeah, no, I understand what it says now. I'm specifically asking if it could be maybe 2/3 instead of 5.
Let us check legally what the maximum number would be and also what the majority would be.
What I
Michael.
think this is that it's a 2/3 vote of the entire committee in order to authorize those. And I believe that's the way it's worded in the law, but I will check and I'll run it past council. So I do think that in the case of these items, you need 2/3 of the entire board, which is 7. And then anything else that doesn't fit within this, decisions are made at a quorum, at a majority of the quorum that is present. But in the case of these, it's basically a control mechanism for when the board is actually authorizing the use of its funds.
Yeah.
I like that it says 5 out of 7, that specifically says 5, because then there's not, oh my gosh, how much is 2/3 of a vote? You know, and then they have to all that discussion, but this just takes away all that. You need at least 5 people.
I would concur with Nancy on that the more the merrier on this, so that the board of this organization can't be construed of trying to fix something with a few number of people. You know, 5 out of 7 is a pretty good number, and I think that.
All right, then you don't have to ask then. You can just drop it. That's fine.
Okay, so do we want to check that legally or?
No, not if you guys are comfortable with the way it is, I'm okay.
Okay, so I'm going to delete that. We leave it 5 out of 7.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions relative to the Board of Trustees? Okay, so basically, the one major question on the board is the term 3 years, not 2. And the second is, can a board member be a member of an affordable housing facility, Pine Woods or Heaton Court, for example? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
You can establish the years on the committee. That one's not a big deal. The residency is unknown, so I will get that answered.
exactly.
Mhm.
And let me put that down. That's good. Residency. That I like that. I like that word. Okay. Moving on. The next item would be the powers of the trustees. Take a quick look at this. This is probably all encompassing, and I think this would stand up with any legal scrutiny, in my opinion, unless anybody has any concerns or issues relative to it.
Nope.
Mark, did you have a comment?
No, I'm just reading here.
Okay, go ahead.
Is there any section anybody wants me to highlight? I will, if there's a letter, let me know. I can put it up for everybody.
No.
I think it's fine for consideration by corporate counsel, and let's see what they come up with.
No, agreed.
So Just out of curiosity, so we can disperse money to agents and borrow money on a majority or on a 5-person? Like number K, I'm sorry, letter K and letter F.
Screen.
I just like having a high bar. If we're gonna have a high bar to acquire property, I wouldn't mind a high bar to pay advisors. But once again, not a big deal.
I would think, in my opinion, I would think you would want a majority to borrow money or disperse assets. But that's.
Well, clearly, yeah.
That's my opinion.
As opposed to a super majority.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
Okay. Anything else on that particular piece? Okay. So the one question would be majority to buy or disperse assets. Question that. Okay. Committee. Okay. The next item would be trustee meetings. Meetings of the trustee. And
Wait a second, Jay, just, can we read number C for a second above that on the same page?
sure. Where are you?
It starts any in debt incurred by the trustees.
Okay, hang on one sec. Let me look at that.
That's a statement that the declaration of trust that protects the town.
I understand that, but what if we decide to build something, and I'm not saying we're going to, but if the town meeting gave permission to basically guarantee a project, are we removing their ability to do that with this?
Money gets moved into the trust from town meeting.
What?
Money would have to be moved into the trust, and then the trust would have to.
No, but we're talking about borrowing, not moving money in. We're talking about, guaranteeing.
Right.
It might, I just don't know if this is standard or if this is, I understand why it's there to protect the town, but, let's say that, we decide to build some senior housing or whatever, and, it's a town project basically, and involves borrowing.
I'm not following. We don't ever want something where the trust can jeopardize the town.
No, but what about if the trust and the town were working together with the consent of the town, could the town?
Well, then that would be worded through whatever motion is done at town meeting, not through the declaration of the trust.
Okay, all right,
The
good.
declaration of the trust is protecting the town.
Right,
that Any
right.
action taken by this trust does not reflect back at.
Okay, got
the
it.
town.
Thank
The
you.
other thing to note
I'm
is-
sorry, I'm being a little thick. Mike, can you read through that site, see and explain it to me? Because it's real confusing to me.
Does not constitute, all right, so any debt incurred by the trustee shall not constitute a pledge of full faith or credit of the town of Stockbridge. And all documents related to any debt shall be contained in a statement that the holder of such debt shall have no recourse against the town of Stockbridge with an acknowledgement of said therefore by the holder. So this is any project or money that has been put up by the trust, including that the trust itself can borrow for a project. That if in some way it was to fail, that it does not affect the faith or credit of the town. It only would affect the trust. So in effect, the trust could, if it did something that ended up not working out, could potentially from this go bankrupt or something like that. So, if the trust was to borrow and for whatever reason, it wasn't able to, I'm just thinking of anything that could possibly cause the trust to fail.
Let
It
me,
doesn't come back on the town.
Michael, let me ask a most unpleasant question, unfortunately. Relative to this section, if theoretically any debt incurred by trustees shall not constitute a pledge of full faith by the town. What about the issue of public officials' liability for serving on a committee like this? Okay. That could be an issue, okay?
Yeah, we'll make sure that any insurance requirements or anything else are placed on the committee. You know, when you got to remember that a trust, like a housing trust, could eventually own property and have assets in the, you know, could have assets of millions of dollars and then borrow against those assets. And it's just basically down the road, wouldn't be putting the town at risk.
And Jay, I assume we're going to have officers and directors insurance for
Right.
anybody who's on the trustees.
Yes.
We'd have to have some kind of public official liability coverage for this.
Right.
You know, whatever, how they do it, and we will check it out,
So
okay?
Nancy, does that sort of answer your question? Like, say down the road, we were to own assets that are worth millions of dollars and then borrow against up to 80%. And for some reason, something went wrong, it doesn't affect the town itself.
So the town can't, say we started a building project
Yeah.
and halfway through, you know, got to be away from everybody and no one could afford it. You know, all of a sudden, you know, the contractor went out of business, whatever. So they can't come back to the town to get the money.
Right? They could go after the trust, but they can't go after the town itself.
Oh, okay, that's what I was hoping it's.
And we'll have to have insurance, so they can't go after the trustees either.
Right, right.
Right, they'll be bonded, yeah.
I have a question, if I may.
Of course.
Will the trust be depending on its relationship to the town in order to borrow money?
No.
We're saying that there's no obligation, or we're protecting the town, but will the trust be able to borrow money realistically without that?
The trust will be borrowing money, debt, borrowing money, grant, mortgages, pledge the trust assets, and only an amount to exceed 80% of the trust's total assets.
Of the assets itself.
So right now, the total assets of the trust are $100,000. So at this point, you could only borrow $80,000. But could through grants, programs, other things, the trust itself could get involved in actually purchasing property, improving the property, and could end up owning properties as we go along, which you're going to have a schedule of assets just like any other business corporation or that would have. So right now, we don't have a lot of room to do this stuff because we don't have the assets, but over time, you could. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And the 80% is the most that the trust can put out, but you could set a lower number if you want, as far as that, but that's the one that they have up to as a basis. And this was one that we took it off of Littleton, and that's one that our lawyers had done before. So most of this language is all there. There's just a couple things such as, like I said, you could set a lower amount if you didn't feel comfortable.
Michael, I have a question on section 6 real quick. Audits are expensive and we're gonna have almost nothing to audit. Is there any way that we could piggyback on the town's audit to audit?
No, I think this should be a separate, it has to be.
You are a separate trust.
Yeah.
All right, got it. Just checking.
Because the town is not involved with the decision process. This is going to be audited separately. You can use the same auditor, but it's got to be a separate audit.
Yeah, I just don't want to spend $5,000 a year auditing the books on a $100,000 trust, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Okay.
Okay, so that basically, we talked about the limitations of the trustees and the exposure, the public officials' liability for debt and so forth. We'll check that out. And also the meetings of the trustees, we're talking about at least quarterly. I don't see a problem with that. Does anybody have a problem with that?
Nope.
Okay, and I didn't have anything relative to section 8, acts of trustees. Are there any concerns there? All right, let's, this had come up earlier, section 9, conflict of interest. Neither the trustees nor any agent or officer of the trust shall have the authority to bind the town except in a manner specifically authorized herein in accordance with provisions, so forth and so on. The trust is a public employer and the trustees are public employees for the purpose of general law. And the trust shall be deemed a municipal agency and trustees special municipal employees for that purpose. Any questions on that? So
Yeah,
it's-
Michael,
it's
dude,
something
special,
discrete from the town. It's not a town department, is what we're saying.
all right, Mike, question, do special municipal employees get benefits?
No. What
Okay,
special
good.
municipal employee, so selectmen, you guys right now are all considered municipal employees. Being a special municipal employee is just a tag that they're saying is on this committee that allows you to serve on other boards. The
Okay,
board isn't designated as special municipal employees. You can only serve on that one particular board. So, and in small towns in general, I forget what the population number is. All employees are considered special municipal employees, but as far as for the trust, this is saying that you are and that there's no conflict with you serving on another board. And not a conflict, you're just allowed to. You still have to be careful that the trust could come before an individual board, which may trigger something.
okay.
Okay, any other comments on that?
Nope.
Okay, I don't think there's any question on section 10, town treasurer as custodian of the trust funds. I have no issue with that. And funds paid to the trust, that's pretty specific.
Yeah.
Section 12, any comments? I basically don't have any comments on anything else on this document. Is there anything that anybody wants to go over?
Nope.
Michael, do we need a motion of this group to send this draft to legal counsel for review and comment?
No, I will just send it to legal counsel for review and comment. We'll get it back to you guys. And then you would need to make a motion to send it to the selectmen for
Right.
final approval. So I will ask the questions, just confirming that the questions right now are, and I was having a little trouble with it. Can we remove affordable?
Yep,
It is residency a requirement of law, or can we allow non-residents to participate? And then I think it was K, and that's when I was having trouble. You wanted to know, right, Patrick? Was it K?
Yeah, no, I thought that you guys answered it to my satisfaction. I don't think you need to ask, but let me look.
So-
JK. No.
that was the issue under powers, the majority.
Yeah.
5 versus 7, right?
Right, and you guys wanted 5, so I'm okay with it.
All right, so I'll get those 2 questions answered. We should be able to meet on this and go over those 2 questions, get them answered by council, and then send to the select board and get the trust officially declared. Get the trustees, then the select board can appoint the trustees, and then the trustees can actually begin, could begin using the funds available for affordable housing projects.
And I just want to say, Michael and Jay, thank you so much. You made this process so easy for us. Awesome work.
And I just had one question. I thought Patrick's point was fair for the terms being 3 years instead of 2
Yes.
years? Because once
Yes.
you get so involved, especially if you're only meeting quarterly, so you meet 4 times or 8 times and you're done, unless you get whatever.
I'm just
appointed.
setting that as up to 2 3-year terms because the selectmen can appoint people up to 3 years.
Okay,
Unless otherwise allowed by a section of law. So 3 years is not anything. What I'll have to do is probably change it's probably gonna, instead of appointment shall be for 1-year terms in order to stagger, they'll probably have to be 2 at 3 years, 2 at 2 years, and the remainder at 1 in order to stagger. And then they've all become 3 after that initial staggering.
Yep.
So then you don't have the same people coming off. So there'll still be a couple people going on for 2 years and then 1 year. But that there's actually and I'll check with Terry, they actually have a recommended. So I think it'll either be, I think it's going to be 2 at 3 years, 2 at 2 years, 3 at 1 year. And then the trust will begin, everybody coming on after that initial one will be for 3 years. And then you'll always be staggering the 7.
oh, like in planning board, yeah.
Yes, yep,
Yeah.
yep. The
Yep,
awkward part
gotcha.
is this is the first time it's set, so some will have to be 1, some will have to be 2, and some will have to be 3 in order to get us to staggering.
Yes,
But I
good
can-
point, yeah.
Yep.
Michael, I just want to clarify one thing on the board composition. Basically, we talked about staggered terms, but when we talk about residency and non-residency, we're also talking about residency in an affordable housing facility, in addition to Stockbridge, and also non-resident outside of the town of Stockbridge. Is that a correct statement?
But what I'm checking with is to see if the requirement by law, because all the other ones I looked at, residency was a requirement. So
Okay,
resident means you're a resident of the town, whether you're in an affordable housing unit, a
right.
home or whatever. So
Okay.
I'm going to confirm whether or not you're allowed to consider non-residency as somebody being on this committee or not. And then the only other thing I would say in here is, do you want to make any recommendations of, shall it be one person from the finance committee on this trustee or something like that? Do you want to consider anything like that, or just leave it for those that are interested and just find 7 people that are interested and have no other criteria?
I think the way to go with that one is let's get the draft prepared. Let's
Yeah.
get the draft to the select board. And then when we talk about personalities and committee composition and individuals, we need to flush that out as we move down the road. I don't want to, I want to do a little more research on that. Okay.
Right, I think a little more research for this committee, because I think from this committee, you send it to the select board with your recommendations on how to establish the board of trustees.
Right. Well, we can talk about that when we bring the draft back.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, yep.
Let me make a note of that. So we want to follow up on details of Board of Trustee participants and backgrounds, i.e. committees. Okay. Anything else on this draft document at this juncture?
Does this all have to be approved by town meeting or just the select board?
Just, the trust has been approved by town meeting already. The declaration of the trust, which is the legal document before you, gets approved by the selectmen. And then the trust is up and running.
Thanks.
Okay, any other points on that, Mark? You're okay with that?
Yeah, sounds
Okay.
good. This is great. You guys got this laid out so well.
Well, we can really thank Michael,
Yes.
Oh, without a doubt.
Let me, we have one other point that I just want to make mention of before we adjourn for the afternoon.
What
I had-
about Pine Woods?
Sorry,
Are we doing Pine Woods?
I don't understand you, Patrick.
Number 4 on the agenda, you said before we adjourn.
No, I said before we adjourn.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, before we adjourn. I put in the agenda a statement on the review of the status of Pine Woods Housing Facility by a Construct, that's the management company representative, to include grants for upgrades and so forth and so on. We understand from June Wolf, who is the project manager for Pine Woods, that she will be submitting to the Community Preservation Committee a document that deals with upgrading a boiler that is necessary to rent one of the units that's unoccupied. And she also is going to propose a study for the Pine Woods facility, theoretical expansion of up to 45 to 50 additional units.
Wow.
And that could be very interesting. And
Well,
she
to a total of 50 units. Yeah.
she has indicated that she will bring that forth to the CPC. And she is also aware of the fact that she may participate next Tuesday at the open meeting for future participants. So that's just an FYI.
I think it's not 50 additional units, it's a total of 50 units. I think there's 32 existing.
Right, expansion, adding 18 to get to 50.
Right.
But let's see what she comes up with, and that could be very interesting, needless to say. And there's also CPC money that was not spent relative to repaving the driveway because of the rain last year. The contractor couldn't do it. So it'll be done this coming spring.
Right.
That's what I have right now. And I would like to move to adjourn this meeting, get the draft finalized with council, and then come back to the committee to talk about the final draft and also board composition. How about that?
Sounds good.
Move to adjourn.
Everybody okay with that? Patrick?
Yes, you're the best, Jay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all very much. Unfortunately, poor Tom missed the meeting, but I appreciate your participation, and I will give him a call and tell him that we adjourned at 4:45. Thank you, Steve Barnes, okay?
Yep.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Thank you.
Bye-bye now, thank you.
Bye.